Welcome to the For Health's Sake podcast, brought to you by Edito Health, elevating digital transformation with a human touch. This episode is sponsored by Radical Health Festival. It's critical to be radical.
Welcome to this edition of For Health's Sake. And today I am joined by somebody who is of immense importance in the data space, specifically in the European data space. And it's Johanna Seppänen, who is the chief executive of Findata. And Findata is in an extraordinary place in Europe because, of course, it is one of the first organizations in Europe to take data seriously. We will hear more about it from Johanna. So let me introduce Johanna. Probably that's the best way forward. Johanna, welcome. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity for us to have a quick conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. So for a start, can you just help us a little understand what Findata is? Because you and I are steeped in this, but not everybody is.
Okay. So Findata is the one-stop shop for social and health data, mainly health data here in Finland. So we are providing access, we are providing permits to data users, researchers mainly, permits to access the health data, and also then after issuing the permits, we are collecting the data, managing it, meaning pseudonymizing, anonymizing it, and delivering the data for the researchers to be used in a secure remote access systems that we are also maintaining. So we are providing permits, we are providing data, and we are providing the IT environment for a secure secondary use of health data.
So we'll be coming back to all of those little bits because there's a whole debate around each one of them. But
yes,
but let's start from the beginning, because this is a very special time for you, because this is your anniversary, isn't it? Congratulations.
Thank you. It's 5 years since I started with the laptop and computer. We started to operate in 2020 in the middle of pandemic closing down. But in 2019 was the first day of Findata. So thank you. We are 5 years.
So this is a big anniversary because, of course, a lot of places, they're slowly coming to terms with what all this means. But you've already got 5 years of experience in your pocket. And that is what's most valuable.
Yeah. We have 5 years of experience of the secondary use and the Act on Secondary Use of Social and Health Data operations. The Act on Secondary Use is a Finnish act, but it's closely in many parts closely like to the European Health Data Space Regulation. So yes,
but you're leading it. Let's be frank, because Findata is developing the Common European Application Form. I mean. You are the organization that has most experience. I mean, I'm not saying anything controversial because nobody else has done this.
But I have to add that the secondary use of health data is actually nothing new here in Finland.
Oh no,
we have long traditions in using registry-based data for the research, but now with the more clearer rules and with Findata taking the lead.
So let's just touch on secondary use, because this is a very important and I think slightly philosophical debate here we need to be thinking of, because when we started our journey around data, we were very clear that data was to be used for the purpose it needed to be used for and basically discarded. And so we set up all sorts of rules, quite appropriately, to protect the citizen and ensure that data was not used inappropriately, because clearly that was to the detriment of the citizen. But the world has fundamentally changed now. And the creation of data lakes, of course, is the basis of a whole revolution in terms of the start of artificial intelligence. Everything from generative AI, predictive AI, prescriptive AI, And without having those data lakes, it's impossible to do that. And by definition, quite a lot of it is going to be secondary use. Is the term still appropriate? Should we be calling this foundational use of data? Because is it secondary anymore?
Well, it's secondary in the sense if we compare it to the primary use, when the collected information is used for your taking care of you and prescribing medicines to you and diagnosing you. So in that sense, when we are using your information for research or for developing artificial intelligence, we can call it secondary. Yes, I
But this
think.
is a real challenge, of course, because
Yeah.
you end up with a situation whereby you have a data lake and then you combine it with another data lake and suddenly you're in a completely different place, which is why I think if I look at your statistics in 2024, you've had 36 data requests which you provided to people. In other words, you provided those lakes to people already, so you're really quite busy. But also, you've had 57 amendments, and some of those, no doubt, are around potential aggregations. And aggregations is a real difficult issue to manage because clearly anonymization becomes more and more of a problem, potentially.
That's true. That's true. And if you are, or all the people that are really into a little bit into anonymization and concepts concerning anonymous data, are aware then that in the world today, 2024, there is no such data than 100% anonymous data. There's always the potential risk
Risk.
of somebody being able to enrich the data in a way that someone can be recognized. But on the other hand, we have the legislation having having the entities like anonymous data. So we have legislation demanding us to anonymize.
Yeah.
And otherwise, and on the other hand, we know that there isn't such a thing than anonymous, 100% anonymous data. So we are actually talking about the remaining risks
Yes.
and what is the sufficient small amount of risk that we can accept.
Yeah.
But it's getting more and more complicated when the results are getting more and more complicated. So we are not talking only about the results of a statistical analysis, but we are talking of results of developing an artificial intelligence, a
Yes.
language model, for example.
Yes, of
So
course.
we have the duty to ensure that a language model taken out um, of the capsule, for example, remote access system,
Yeah, we'll come
taking
to
out
that
of
in
them.
a
So
minute.
we have the duty to ensure that the language model is anonymous,
Yeah.
and also other products that come from the developing AE and researching AE projects. So that is becoming more and more complex also with the anonymization issues.
Yeah. And, we need to understand another issue because, I mean, this is a really big technical challenge. We'll talk about Capsule in a minute, which is the secure environment used to actually analyze and manage the data. But in terms of anonymization, there is a real challenge in actually anonymizing data without changing the form and function of the data to make it ineffective, because it's quite easy to anonymize data completely, but then the data becomes frankly useless because it loses its richness. I'm taking an extreme sort of situation, but there's always going to be a challenge here.
Yeah.
Ideally, you leave as much in as possible because, of course, that's what you want. But clearly, the more you leave in, the more likely it is that you're going to get identification. And managing that is basically your job.
Yeah, that's true. And we are doing our best, but the question with the relationship with like research project results coming out of AE studies and the data safety and data security, um, the relation between these two things is the issue is getting um, more and more acute and bigger. So
Yeah.
I think it's really good we are entering the European health data space, and we can like outline and discuss also on a European level, because these things and these problems are the same for all the
Absolutely.
HDEPs,
Yeah.
the health data access bodies in Europe.
Let's talk about Capsuli for a minute, because this is your secure environment where you hold data, where you analyze data, where you manage the process. Now, the challenge there, of course, and this is no doubt what keeps us all from sleeping sometimes. The worries are associated with cybersecurity, because clearly the world is now a world whereby we used to think that cybersecurity was something which was managed by somebody who worked somewhere else, and it wasn't my problem, but it's all our problems. And having something as powerful within Capsuli makes it extremely attractive for everybody to gain access to it. So this must make up, I think, at least half of your work within Capsuli. Am I correct? Is that the sort of...
Yes. We are doing all the Findata staff is working in Capsuli, and also the clients or the researchers are allowed to do the analysis and handle the data only in Capsuli, which the environment is closed, so it's not connected to the internet.
Neither should it be.
Yeah, it makes it it makes using it a little bit inconvenient, but it's a very strong effort for data safety. So
I think it's probably the only solution at the present, because
yeah.
we don't have an overwhelming solution around cybersecurity, which is secure enough to be, sorry to use that term, but secure enough to be safe. If it has that wide connection. So let's think a little bit in the future now, Johanna, because at the moment, the data you have available, of course, are Kanta, which is the wonderful Finnish data health medical system mainly, digital and population health data sources, pensions, occupational health, which in Finland is particularly important, of course, because there's a lot of very valuable data within that occupational health, and social affairs. Are there plans to make even more sources of data available within these data lakes, which you will have responsibility for, or is this as far as it's going to go, you think?
Well, actually, our mandate is quite strong already. So Findata has the mandate to issue permits for all the data, all the information that is collected in the Finnish healthcare and social care systems. What will I think, but we will see when the European health data space takes effect, what happens to the biobank and genomic data.
That's what I was
Currently,
thinking of.
yeah,
Yeah.
currently they are not included in the Finnish secondary act legislation, but they have different legislative basis, Biobank Act and so. But I think in the future also the biobank data and genomic data are included.
It is, to me, sounds pretty logical. You're in the same space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and as far as it is in the digital form. So of course the samples, the physical samples in the biobanks themselves, they are a different thing and have to be managed in the biobanks. But as far as we are talking about data, it's there's already a lot of biobank data and genomic data stored in Findata's IT environment.
I assume a lot of that is already within Kanta. I assume a fair amount of that may well be within your occupational health data, I think.
Yeah, a fair amount. That is correct. And it's getting more and more.
So thank you very, very much for an opportunity for us to have a conversation. I know you're incredibly busy, especially at this time of your celebration.
Okay,
Looking forward to seeing you soon in Helsinki.
Yeah, so you are coming.
Of
Nice
course
to see
I'm
you.
coming. Yes.
Okay, nice to see you. Thank you, Charles.
And thank you very much for the opportunity to have a chat.
It's my pleasure, always. Okay.